Hi, I want to talk to you today about something that gets a little less notoriety when it comes to the home buying and selling process, and those are 5 buyer mistakes to avoid as you're going through this process. So this list of 5 has been compiled by me over 14 years and 650-ish properties sold. Not from some website, but from Kyle Ness working here in Fort Wayne, greater Fort Wayne area. So number 1 on the list, again, not using a real estate agent. And this is something I don't think a lot of people understand, or they think they know, but they don't totally know. So first of all, when a seller hires an agent to sell their house, they pay the agent a commission. And that seller's agent then offers a portion, usually 50% of that commission, for a buyer's agent to bring a buyer into the property. So if a buyer goes directly to the seller's agent, the seller isn't necessarily paying half the fee. The fee they pay is the same. So there's no savings to that buyer to have their own representation and have their own advocate through the process, or to carry that entire burden on their own. A lot of people don't quite get that. Number 2 is an agent that's helping through the process can pull very detailed comparable information. What are other homes in the neighborhood selling for? What do they compare on a price per square foot? How does this neighborhood compare to the greater area? And this is really pretty important, extremely important information, because it's not readily available and it's difficult to process and even get your hands on, let alone process. Number 3 is in that genre is a real estate agent can help you through the entire process to shotgun and navigate getting the title insurance policy, hooking you up with a good home inspector, not just any home inspector. If there's problems, knowing how to navigate those problems, and then being there after the transaction closes. Errors and omissions insurance is crazy important, because it's needed, and it's like insurance. It's there, but when you need it, it's very helpful and useful. Number 2 is think resale. The time to think about resale is when you're buying, not when you're trying to resale. So this is something a lot of people don't keep in mind. A typical homeowner in our area is in their house 7 to 8 years on average. Now I know there's a whole lot of people that have been in their house for 30 years, but on average 7 to 8 years. And along those lines is location. You can never change the location of your property after you buy it. So the biggest problem I see here is that people buy an overpriced home for the neighborhood because maybe they're not looking at those comparables. But if your home is priced here and all the other homes are priced here, even over time, as those comparables increase in value, your home is increasing in value. So you can't change the location after you lock down, and that's really out of your hands. So that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see. When people don't think resale, they don't look at the neighborhood they're buying in. It's always best to be the most beat up, smallest, dirtiest house in the neighborhood and let everybody pull you up, than to be the best house in the neighborhood and have everybody pull you down. So incredibly important. Number 3, knowing the difference between what you need in your house and what you want in your house. I always use the grocery store example. If you go into a grocery store and you're trying to find the best piece of fruit, and you're comparing apples and oranges and bananas and pears and grapes and whatever, and you're looking at all this fruit and you're trying to find the best one, it's extremely difficult. Versus if you walk in the grocery store and say, I'm looking for a Granny Smith apple, and you take everything off the plate and you're zoned in on the Granny Smith apples, then you know exactly what you're looking for. You can look at the Granny Smith, you can find the best one, you walk out the door. It's easier, it's simpler, and you feel better about it. So the easier and feel better is a huge part of the equation. The buyers that have the most problems, the buyers that look at 20, 30 houses, are the buyers that have this really open range, and they tiptoe down this avenue, then they back up, and then they try this and they back up, then they try this and they're not sure. It's difficult and it's frustrating across the board. Number 4 is get pre-approved in writing, not just I've been pre-approved, but I have something in writing to stand behind it. You need to know what your closing costs are going to run. You need to know how long it's going to take you to close this deal. Getting some of that documentation up front will make it easier on the back end once you find the house. And please be wary of online lenders. Twofold. One is, even if you bank at the local Wells Fargo or Chase Bank and you go online, they're going to send that application, unless you're going to a specific lender, a specific loan originator, that application is going to go to somebody in Minnesota or Texas. And the problem with that is that loan originator in Minnesota has zero likelihood and zero expectation to get your resale or get your business down the road. It's a one-time event. So the level of service that they have to provide is a little bit lower than if you got the guy down at the local branch when he knows he's going to see you again, he wants to be on your good side, he wants to get your next deal and get your referrals. It's a totally different atmosphere. Another thing is that one of the tricks that sometimes less than reputable lenders will use is they'll say, okay, you're pre-approved. You're good to go buy a house, you're pre-approved. And they don't actually vet the information at all. And what they're banking on is that you go out, you look, you negotiate, you get an offer accepted, then you meet with them and provide all the documentation. Then they'll figure out if it works or not. And what they're trying to do is give you this pre-approval so that you come back to them so they can gain your business, not even knowing if you can get the loan to begin with. So I've seen that all too often. I see it more with these online lenders than with the local guys. Number 5 is keep your emotions in check. This is crazy important because a lot of times things will develop into fighting on principle, not necessarily negotiating on keeping the goal in mind. Now, Stephen Covey always said, begin with the end in mind. And here's a good example. $5,000 at our current interest rates, about 4.5-ish, is only 25 bucks a month. You're talking less than $1 a day, and that's on $5 grand. So keeping these things in mind, not fighting for the sake of fighting, but focusing on the goal is tremendously helpful. You'll feel better about it. It will be smoother, and then you'll bank up some goodwill. So if you have inspection issues that you need to kind of negotiate through, that goodwill is going to come back and help you. Don't burn all your bridges and go for broke at the very beginning, because you might need that. You might need some goodwill later in the deal. So keep these 5 mistakes in mind and avoid them. You'll be tremendously ahead of the curve. It'll make things much easier, and you'll have a better overall process. If you have more questions, feel free to let me know, and I'm never too busy for your referrals. Thanks.